I wanted to provide an explanation that's long overdue on my channel. I have done a specific thing, which is withhold 2 different builds on my channel, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on it. Most of it positive, some of it quite negative, and I wanted to provide my explanation to you guys in a video so that you guys know why I did it twice so far in the last year and why I'm going to continue to do this sort of thing in the future. So if you came here for a build video, I will have another one out later this week. We'll have some gameplay and some other fun content. But yeah, this is just more of an explanation so you guys that want to know will understand where I'm coming from on this. So with that being said, let's dive into it. First of all, let's talk about the 2 things that I withheld. Number 1, last summer, late in the summer, I withheld my werewolf build, and this, what was it, 3-4 weeks ago, I posted an unlimited Mistform proc build, and I basically talked about how I thought those 2 things were mechanically broken, and I provided my thoughts to build a werewolf if you so choose, but I didn't post my build. And I got a lot of negative feedback from it from a few different sources. They're like, well, this is just the elitist in you. This is you being an elitist, not wanting to share this information, yada, yada, yada. Give us the build. You owe this to us, which is just, I don't owe you anything. I'm sorry, I don't. But yeah, my goal with my channel has always been to provide fun content for you guys, to provide helpful information so that you guys can enjoy this game. That's the goal of my channel. The goal is to always help you guys have fun playing classes, and hopefully you get the same enjoyment out of the game that I do. When you've been creating builds for as long as I have, every once in a while you share a broken build, and there's a big difference between broken and strong. And what I classify as broken is something with really no counterplay. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. It just kind of exists. There's no strong counter to where if you play well, you could do something about it. It's just strong. And there have been multiple different forms of that over the years. Way back in 1.6, there was the unlimited dodge roll builds, where literally Stamina Nightblades were dodge rolling through Zergs, if you guys used to play back at that point. At the same point in time, Sorks never had a cost increase on streak, so they could stay there and fight, and if there was too many people, they could streak 10-20 times, get the distance, and if you decided to try and catch up, they'd turn around and just blast you in the face with, 20k crystal fragment. And so the streak and dodge roll after that got cost increases, escalating cost increases, because of how ridiculously powerful those things were defensively. A couple months later, or a couple years, actually a year later after that, there was an unlimited, there's a way to block cost, or to reduce your block cost so low to where you could perma block infinitely. You could stand there and you could hold block and you would gain stamina while blocking. And so there used to be groups of people, different tanks, they'd run tank and spank builds where literally they'd just tank out Zergs and they would turn and burn people. And the reason that existed was because you could get the cost of the ability so low that the Constitution passive and other forms of sustain would outweigh it, and yeah, it wouldn't really cost you anything. And so these things all got adjusted over the years. There isn't really a counter to those types of builds because the defensive mechanics were so powerful. And so I actually introduced my own broken build way back in the past, and it was back in Scalebreaker. We were in the PTS, and dots were incredibly high, and they were so high when I was looking at it, when I was testing things. I was like, this is going to be really, really tough to deal with. I'm going to post a build during the PTS, go through my thoughts on it, explain why I think this is broken, and tear the band-aid off. That's what everybody says, right? In order for stuff to get fixed, it has to get abused, and then once it gets abused, you tear the band-aid off and it'll get adjusted in the future. Well, I thought if I posted during the PTS, it's all out there in the open. We still have a time period to where it can get fixed, and yeah, it will get adjusted, and that way it doesn't make it too Cyrodiil, and it's not going to be as problematic as it could have been. Well, those were the thoughts, those were the intentions. That's what people have traditionally done. And I posted the full build, and it was I wanted to prove a point that these dots were so powerful, so I put these dots on a melee magic and nightblade. And the point with the dots was Soul Trap and Entropy used to be able to cast from 30 meters, and I had 3,000 plus magic recovery and 2,000 plus stamina recovery, and I could cast these dots at 30 meter range. By the time you turned around to see me, I was gone. Like, you could not catch up with me because I had Race Against Time, I had Major Expedition, I also had Concealed Weapons, so I was just very fast. So you could never close the distance on me with Shadow Image, Cloak, and Race Against Time if I played well. The other thing is because I had so much magic recovery, plus I had 100k tooltip dots, even if you had a purge, the cost of my abilities and my amount of magic recovery, no Magplar could play the Battle of Attrition game with me. Yeah, sure, you can purge them. I'll just reapply them. I'm going to have Magicka longer than you will. And so it didn't matter who I ran across, that build shredded everybody, and they really couldn't do a whole lot about it. And so that was a broken build. And I didn't really think about it at the time. I was trying to get it fixed during the PTS. I didn't have the experience or knowledge to know how broken it was until I actually played it in Cyrodiil. So it made it live. And the thing is that was my build. Like, that was definitely my build. People knew what it was because nobody was running Melee Magic and Nightblade at that point, like in the last 3 years. And so you run across that build and you get zerged down by it, and it's frustrating. Because it's not that they played better, it's that there's not really a good counter to that type of build. And so I had lots of people comment on my channel, very upset, because they're like, I can't believe you introduced this. And I was like, I'm trying to get it fixed. I had good intentions, you know? And so I had the counter effect of what I've been trying to do on my channel. I introduced something to try to get it fixed, and then I introduced something broken, and the people that watch my channel are now not happy playing the game because I introduced something broken to the game. I even had friends at the time, they said, hey man, you know, I appreciate your channel and everything, but screw you for posting that build. And they did not say screw. A lot of people are very frustrated because it is frustrated to run across broken builds where you don't really have a counter to it. And so that was 2 years ago now. And ever since then, I've thought about what I want to do when I run across and encounter a broken build, and why I don't want to post those in that way. Now, obviously, if I wanted to garner clicks and generate more views and everything, build videos for me generate the most amount of views. So if I post something broken, that's going to generate more views than anything else that I would discuss. So if I wanted to do that for my channel, that's what would generate the most revenue. I don't do that because I don't like introducing those things. And so I've thought about how I would go about making those adjustments in the future for you guys so that we can get these things adjusted, we can talk about them, but it's not going to spread like wildfire through PvP. And so, yeah, that leads us to the last year with Werewolf and the Mistform build. And I'm not going to go into too many details, but I was very new with Werewolf when I was playing it. I had never played it before. And when they introduced all those buffs, I said, wow, this is broken. And I had a bunch of feedback, and people said, no, you need to play it first before you have an opinion, which I agreed to. That's right. You shouldn't have a strong opinion on something unless you played an experienced class. And I was wrong in that regard. And so I started playing it. And I was new to the class. I was new to the entire experience that is Werewolf. And Werewolf playing solo is actually quite tough to do. But I started finding success. I started playing it a little bit more, started realizing the intricacies of it. And the big thing that people say about Werewolf is, yeah, Werewolf is strong, but if you run across a poison build, they're going to smack you. And I was in Imperial City, and I ran across 3 stand DKs, all wearing Venomous Smite and Sheer Venom. All 3 of them were. And so they were running Venomous Claw, Noxious Breath, Sheer Venom, and Venomous Smite. 4 poison abilities with 3 Stam DKs versus just me. Now, that's the hardest counter for a Werewolf, is, on paper, is those types of builds. That fight took 5 minutes. That was a long fight, and I almost got them. I almost killed a few of them a couple times. They did get me in the end, but if the hardest counter for me, I experienced a 3v1, and I can still tank it out, and I honestly, it should have gone on farther. Like, I could have kited, I could have defended, like, I wanted to fight, but if my defensive mechanics are so strong that the hardest counter takes 3+ people and it takes that long for them to do anything to me, it's overpowered, it's overtuned, and it's busted. There's no counter to them. Like, if that's the counter and it takes that much, it's not a counter. And so we've seen this. We've seen what Werewolf is. You can melt 80% of Cyrodiil and you run across a Werewolf and you can't kill them. You just can't. You couldn't in Markarth. You could run a build that kills 90% of Cyrodiil. And like, if you guys go back and you watch my Battlegrounds clips. There's a few of them where I'm just shredding everybody with procs. And then I run across an Alessian Crimson Werewolf and they don't die. And it's just kind of funny because it's like, I'm running a build that's so overtuned for everybody, but this because it's so overtuned defensively. And so I didn't share my werewolf build for that reason, because it's just a ridiculously overtuned defensive spec. And you can't counter a werewolf 1v1 unless they're really, really inexperienced with it. You have to run across a player that doesn't know how to play or build a proper werewolf. Anybody that kind of has an idea, they're not going to die in a 1v1 with a werewolf. It's just not going to happen. And so when there's no counters like that, I consider that broken, and so I didn't share the werewolf build. Now, people are going to say, well, other werewolf builds were shared, other werewolf builds got out there, and that's the thing, guys. The meta werewolf build that got posted is problematic. It is annoying. It was an issue, but there were stronger builds out there. There's stronger builds than what the meta was, and the thing is for as bad as werewolf was in Markarth, it really could have been a lot worse. It really could have. Like, if people weren't running the strongest thing that you could run on a werewolf, which thankfully that wasn't posted. So that's the big thing about metas, is metas are often driven by people posting builds. Like, sometimes the best stuff isn't what the meta actually is. And so, yeah, werewolf was problematic. That's why I didn't post it. And although it did get out there and although it was abused, it could have been a lot worse. It really could have. And that leads us to the Mistform build. Mistform has 75% damage reduction, and I could get the cost of Mistform down to 0 to where I could actually generate Magicka back while I was in Mistform, which is hugely problematic. Like, that is severely problematic for defensive capabilities. In the same way dodge roll, streak, block, 75% mitigation at no cost is a broken mechanic. You can't really pull somebody out unless Mistform breaks, which thankfully it does, but that's not the design. That's not what Mistform should do. Like, if people go into it, they should have it. But there were a few things that were pulling people out, which made it not as much of an issue. But yeah, you stack that on with 5,000 health recovery to where I get free 75% damage mitigation, and I get health recovery on top, and I still have damage running procs. And I can kill most people. That is a broken build. There's no counter to somebody that's just in Mistform because it's free. And so when you look at those types of defensive mechanics, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this is broken. I don't want to post this because A, we already have broken werewolf builds out there. Do we really want to have broken werewolf builds and broken vampire builds? And literally everything you run across is unkillable 1v1. Everything you run across would be unkillable 1v1. Is that the type of meta that you want to be in? For me, it's not. I don't like tanky metas, and so I don't introduce builds that are broken mechanically, defensively, to where it would promote those sorts of things. And so I didn't share that build either. Now, the thing is with both of those, I posted a long video. With the werewolf build, I even said I was streaming it. You can go and look at my Twitch stream, you can go look at my past VODs, and you can go find out what I was running. I didn't hide it. I just wasn't going to broadcast a build video. So you can go find it. I even went through how to build a good werewolf, in my opinion, if you guys want to play werewolves. I didn't hide any information from you. Like, if you guys wanted to go find it, it would have taken 2 minutes of a Google search to go find that information. But that little extra effort stops about 80% of the ESO community. 80 to 90%. They don't want to take that little extra effort to go figure something out. They want it gifted to them. They want to hand it to them. And yeah, so I didn't hide it. I said where it was. I said how you can find it. And I left it at that with the werewolf build. With the Mistform build, it was already posted on other channels. Malcolm posted it. I know a few other people did. It was already out there. It was on the forums on multiple different threads. I said you could go on YouTube, you could look it up. I know Unified Gaming posted something similar. People posted links to Unified Gaming, and they even said Malcolm's build in my channel. There was an entire thread on that video where people were figuring it out. They were figuring it out on my thread. I gave all the different things of how it functions, high health recovery. I gave how the Mistform works, low Magicka cost, and I did all of that without providing the exact min-maxed version of it, but it was already out there. And so the thing is although I introduced this information, although I told people where they could go find all this information if they chose to, and although the same comment section that they used to try and take a dump on me had the information that they needed, they were still upset that I didn't give it to them. And so that's fine. Like, this is going to be one of those things to where I'm in a lose-lose situation. I just want to explain this to you guys. If I share those builds, I'm going to have people upset at me because, you know, I'm introducing broken builds into Cyrodiil. If I don't share them, I'm going to have people upset that they, you know, don't have the free hand-me-out of broken builds in Cyrodiil. And so I know a lot of it is subjective. I know sometimes builds are subjective, but if there's gray area, I'll post it. Because I'm not a developer, whatever, I'll just post it. If it's a strong build, I'll post it. But when stuff is clearly overperforming mechanically, and there's something that really doesn't have a counter to it, I don't post those. And I'm not going to in the future, and I will continue to do this. And the thought is I think that we can share that conversation, we can have it out there, we can show a little bit of gameplay on it, we can get it fixed without having it spread like wildfire across Cyrodiil. My thoughts were, it doesn't have to get abused in Cyrodiil for it to get adjusted. We can have a conversation, we can show the gameplay, we can talk about how it functions, we can talk about fixes for it without having it get that far, without frustrating the community, without, you know, ruining overall gameplay. And that's what happened. They fixed Mistform. They fixed Mistform due to comments in the community, whether it was through the forums or whether it was people talking about it from my video or whatever. Regardless, that didn't spread like wildfire, and it ended up getting adjusted. And so I think that's a win. I think that's a win for the community. I know it's not a win for those of you guys that wanted to Mistform indefinitely and cheese people down with procs and free defensive mechanics. And for that, you know, maybe next time in the future, you will be able to utilize your internet browser better, and you'll be able to utilize the information that I gave and use the resources I told you where it was, or maybe just do like an extra 5 minutes of research. But yeah, that little extra effort could have allowed you to abuse those things that I was talking about, but instead you used that time to bitch at me, and yeah, win-win for the community. So you're upset that you don't get to cheese people down. You gave me some laughs, and yeah, everybody else in the community either got a laugh reading those comments that you posted, or they didn't get upset about you running a broken build. So win, 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 win. So yeah, that's the reason why I did it. Hopefully this makes some sense. I won't do it for everything. Like I said, it has to be pretty glaringly apparent that it's busted, and I will provide my opinion on it. And yeah, if you guys don't, if you don't agree, we don't agree. That's fine. But this is my opinion. This is my channel. This is the goal of my channel, is to, you know, post stuff that people can have fun fighting and countering against, and those sorts of things aren't fun to fight. It's not fun to fight a werewolf. It's not fun to fight a 5k health recovery vampire Mistform build, no matter how effective it is. So yeah, that's why I did it. And this is my explanation, and that's why I will continue to do it in the future. And if you want to be mad, stay mad. Don't care. I don't care. The goal is to, I already told you what my goal is a couple times. It goes against what I want to do. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to post broken stuff in the future. Like I said, nobody really knows until all of a sudden you start playing it. Nobody really knows. And so a lot of it is up for interpretation, but I think in those two cases, it was pretty clear what was going on there. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I love you. Have a nice day.